Hand over those pool keys right now or you're under arrest for trespassing. Officer Brent Blackwood barks as his patrol car screeches into my driveway at 7 a.m., hand on his holster. Right behind him, his wife Constance, the HOA queen bee in her silk robe, grinning ear to ear with arms crossed like she's watching her favorite show. Some people just don't belong in a neighborhood like ours. They're ready to cuff me because my kids dared to use the community pool we pay $300 a month for. They're kids. They practically live there, splashing around every single day like they own the place. His stale cigarette breath hits my face as he leans in, thinking I'll fold. They had no idea who they were messing with. I've got a very particular set of skills, and this smug power-tripping couple is about to get a lesson they'll never forget. After 15 years infiltrating drug cartels for the FBI, taking down a corrupt cop and his HOA dictator wife, that's just Tuesday. What would you do? Drop your craziest HOA story below and smash that like button, because karma's coming and it's sweet. Let me back up 3 weeks and tell you how I ended up facing down a corrupt cop in my own driveway. My name is Miles Dalton, and after 15 years of infiltrating drug cartels and organized crime rings for the FBI, I thought I'd earn myself a quiet retirement. My wife Elena, a pediatric nurse who'd spent way too many sleepless nights wondering if I'd come home alive, finally convinced me to hang up the badge and find some peace. So we bought this modest ranch house in Willowbrook Estates. Nothing fancy, just an 1,800 square foot slice of suburban heaven where our kids Sophie, 12, and Jake, 9, could finally have the normal childhood they deserved. The kind of place where the biggest threat was getting a parking ticket, not a bullet. The neighborhood smelled like fresh-cut St. Augustine grass and weekend barbecues. You could hear sprinklers hitting concrete sidewalks in that rhythmic pattern that screams safe suburbia. The HOA-mandated brick mailboxes stood like identical sentries. Every garage door painted regulation beige. It was everything we dreamed of. Boring, predictable, safe. Until I met our self-appointed neighborhood dictator. Day 3 after moving in, I'm unloading my work truck when this white Mercedes SUV with HOA 1 vanity plate screeches up like she's responding to a 5-alarm fire. Out steps Constance Blackwood, blonde hair that costs more than most people's mortgage payments, designer workout clothes, and the kind of fake smile that says, "I'm about to make your life hell." "Welcome to Willowbrook," she announces, clutching a clipboard like it's Excalibur. "I'm Constance Blackwood, HOA president. We have a problem." She slaps this official-looking violation notice in my hand. Thick cardstock that probably cost $50 just to print. Commercial vehicles prohibited in residential driveways. Section 4.7.3. $200 daily fine until you comply. Now I've been threatened by cartel bosses who were more polite than this woman. "Ma'am, I see contractors and landscapers parked in driveways all over. Authorized service vehicles." She cuts me off. "Your business hasn't been approved." That's when I noticed the beautiful irony sitting in her driveway. A police patrol car just permanently parked there like it belonged. "Interesting," I said. "Is that your husband's cruiser?" Her smile turned predatory. Officer Blackwood works very hard keeping undesirable elements out of our community. Some vehicles enhance security. Others, she eyed my truck like it was radioactive waste, attract the wrong kind of people. The message hit me like a slap. Their cop car belonged. My work truck didn't. Some residents were welcome. Others were barely tolerated. But here's where Constance made her first real mistake. That weekend, while Elena was getting the kids settled, Sophie and Jake discovered the community amenities. They came home breathless with excitement about the playground, the tennis court, and especially the sparkling blue pool that looked like something from a resort. "Dad, can we go swimming tomorrow?" Sophie asked, eyes bright with hope. "The pool's huge," Jake added, "and there's a diving board." Elena smiled for the first time in months. "That sounds perfect, baby." So Sunday afternoon, we head to the pool with our new access cards. The kids practically bouncing out of their skin with excitement. The smell of chlorine and sunscreen filled the air as families lounged around, living that suburban dream. That's when Constance appeared like a storm cloud on a sunny day. "Excuse me," she called out, striding over in her designer cover-up. Pool access is currently under review for new residents. Elena looked confused. Under review? Background verification process, Constance said with that same fake smile. I'll need you to surrender those access cards pending approval. My kids' faces fell like someone had just canceled Christmas. Other families pretended not to watch, but you could feel them holding their breath. That's the moment I knew this wasn't about HOA rules or neighborhood standards. This was about power. And Constance Blackwood had just declared war on my family. Monday morning, 7 a.m. sharp. I'm making coffee when a patrol car screeches into my driveway with all the subtlety of a SWAT raid. Officer Brent Blackwood climbs out like he's responding to an armed robbery. 6'2", buzz cut going gray, 20 years of authority complex packed into a uniform that's seen better days. His hand rests on his service weapon as he approaches. A textbook intimidation move I'd watched corrupt cops use from Chicago to Miami. The doorbell rings once, sharp and demanding. I open the door in my bathrobe, coffee mug in hand, playing sleepy suburban dad. Morning, officer. Everything okay? Mr. Dalton? He barks, whipping out a notepad. Received a complaint about criminal trespassing on HOA property. Need you to surrender your pool access cards and amenity keys now. The smell of his cheap aftershave mixed with stale cigarette breath hits me as he steps closer. Years ago, during an undercover op in Newark, I'd learned that nervous cops always overcompensate with aggression. Brent's checking all the boxes. Sweating despite the cool morning, won't make direct eye contact. Shifting weight like he's expecting a fight. Officer, I say calmly, pulling out my phone and hitting record. What's the incident report number for this complaint? His face tightens. In my FBI days, I discovered that demanding documentation makes corrupt officials panic. This is official HOA business, he snaps. Then why are you here in uniform threatening arrest? I ask, keeping my voice level. Behind him, Constance watches from their yard like a director admiring her leading man's performance. She's got her phone out too, probably planning to post this victory on the neighborhood Facebook group. Brent's getting flustered. Look, just cooperate and this doesn't become a bigger problem. Time for my first counter move. I disappear inside for 30 seconds and return with our property deed and HOA covenant documents. Yeah, I'd done my homework after yesterday's pool ambush. Officer Blackwood, I say, spreading the documents on my doorstep. These show pool access as a permanent property right. The HOA can't revoke ownership privileges without due process hearings and written notice. He actually stumbles backward, clearly not expecting suburban dad to know property law. The HOA board meets Thursday. This will be resolved then. But Brent can't resist one final power play. As he turns to leave, he leans in close. Mr. Dalton, I'd be real careful about causing trouble around here. We take community safety very seriously. Translation. Step out of line and I'll find an excuse to arrest you. After he drives off, I stand processing what just happened. A sworn police officer had just abused his badge to enforce HOA rules. Textbook deprivation of rights under color of law. I'd helped prosecute federal cases on exactly this charge. That evening, I launched my own intelligence operation. Time to map the neighborhood's power structure and see how deep this corruption went. Mrs. Dorothy Brighton was watering her prize roses when I strolled by. Mid-60s, retired teacher, the kind of careful politeness that screamed, "Learn to keep quiet the hard way." "Beautiful garden," I said, genuinely admiring her work. "Thank you," she replied. But her eyes darted toward the Blackwood house like she expected surveillance. "You're the new family. How are you settling in?" The pause told me everything. "We've had some interesting conversations with the HOA. Dorothy's face went pale. She glanced around, then whispered, "The Hendersons, young couple, lived here 2 years. They got tired of the enforcement visits." Enforcement visits? Officer Blackwood found reasons to stop by. Patio furniture violations, holiday decoration complaints, noise issues nobody else heard. Her grip tightened on the garden hose. Funny how these problems only happen to certain families. They moved to Cedar Park last spring. Then she pointed toward the corner house. Jim Santos runs the auto shop on Maple Street. Same thing happened to him. Police visits about his backyard shed being non-compliant. He's too scared to even talk about it now. The pattern crystallized. Constance identified undesirable residents. Brent provided the badge-powered harassment. Most people facing systematic police intimidation would cut their losses and flee. As I walked home, I smiled for the first time all day. The Blackwoods had a system, but systems have weaknesses. And after 15 years of dismantling criminal organizations, I knew exactly how to exploit them. Thursday night, the community center smells like stale coffee and industrial floor cleaner as I walk into what can only be described as a kangaroo court. The metal folding chairs screech against the linoleum as residents file in. Well, some residents. Funny how the usual crowd of 30 had mysteriously shrunk to 12 people, and half of them were wearing Blackwood for safety buttons. Constance sits at the head table like a queen holding court, flanked by her loyal board members. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead, casting that harsh institutional glow that makes everyone look guilty of something. Emergency session called to order, she announces, banging a wooden gavel. We're here to address serious security concerns brought to our attention by local law enforcement. I'm sitting in the back row, notebook ready, watching this performance unfold. Mr. Dalton has been observed threatening a police officer and violating multiple community standards. She continues, for the safety of our families, I'm proposing immediate revocation of all amenity access, pending a comprehensive behavioral assessment. The room goes quiet except for the ancient air conditioning unit rattling. Board member Patricia Mills raises her hand. Don't we need proper notice for emergency powers? Constance's smile could freeze hell. Section 12.4 allows immediate action when community safety is threatened. I stand up, pulling out my phone. Point of order. What's the specific nature of these alleged threats? You recorded a police officer without consent. Board member Frank Torres pipes up. Here's where my FBI legal training kicked in. Actually, Frank, Texas is a one-party consent state. Recording police interactions is constitutionally protected. The sound of shuffling papers fills the awkward silence. But Constance isn't giving up. The motion passes 4-1. She announces, barely giving anyone time to vote. I looked around. Only 5 board members present. Constance, you don't have a quorum. Emergency votes require 7 members. Her face turned the color of a fire engine. This meeting is adjourned. Also, I continued, standing with my bylaws copy. Background check requirements violate Texas property code. Discriminatory access restrictions. That got everyone's attention. A few neighbors actually looked up, probably realizing someone was fighting back for the first time. As people filed out, Tyler Brooks from Pine Street lingered. When the room cleared, he approached cautiously. That recording law thing, he whispered. My wife and I have some videos you might want to see. The next morning, Tyler and Madison came over with evidence that made my FBI heart sing. Crystal clear footage of Officer Blackwood's midnight wellness checks, flashlight beams through windows, photographing license plates, even testing door handles like a burglar casing houses. He said neighbors reported suspicious activity, Madison explained, her voice shaking. But we just asked questions about pool maintenance expenses at the last meeting. There it was, the pattern. This wasn't random harassment. This was systematic witness intimidation. But then Tyler dropped the real bombshell. Madison works at First National Bank. She processed some HOA checks that seemed weird. Madison pulled out printed bank records, her hands trembling. Pool maintenance contract for $8,000 monthly. But I looked up the company Maintenance Solutions LLC. It was incorporated 3 weeks after Constance became HOA president. The business address? A UPS mailbox. My blood ran cold. Shell companies were the bread and butter of every financial crime I'd investigated. Madison, I said carefully, how long has this been going on? 18 months, maybe longer. She pointed to another line item. Landscape emergency repairs, $12,000 last quarter. But look at our neighborhood. When's the last time you saw major landscape work? I spent that afternoon cross-referencing the financial records with surveillance techniques I'd perfected tracking cartel money. The pattern was beautiful in its simplicity. Inflate legitimate expenses by 300%, route payments through shell companies, pocket the difference. Total estimated theft, over $70,000. The Blackwoods weren't just bullying neighbors for kicks. They were running a systematic embezzlement operation. And anyone who asked financial questions got the police harassment treatment. But they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd picked a fight with someone who'd spent 15 years following money trails through criminal organizations. Time to turn the hunters into the hunted. The next week, Constance declared total war. Monday morning, I'm helping Jake with fractions when Elena storms through the door, looking like she'd survived a coordinated attack. 3 city inspectors, she announces, slamming a stack of violation notices on our counter. Grass height, mailbox angle, garbage can placement. $500 in fines, all scheduled while we were both at work. I scanned the timestamps. 9:15 a.m., 9:30 a.m., 9:45 a.m. military precision timing. Anonymous complaints. Elena continues. The grass inspector said our lawn was exactly a quarter-inch over regulation height. Who measures grass with that kind of precision? Sophie looks up from her cereal. Mom, why is everyone being mean to us? Did we do something wrong? That question hits me like a physical blow. My daughter shouldn't have to wonder why adults are targeting our family. This stops now. That evening, I deployed every surveillance skill the FBI had taught me. From my bedroom window, I watched Brent's patrol car cruise past 4 times in 3 hours, way outside normal patrol patterns. Each pass accompanied by his searchlight sweeping our property like we're escaped convicts. Around 11 p.m., he parks at the corner and approaches our mailbox with a flashlight. But Brent made a crucial mistake. He didn't notice my newly installed security system. Military-grade cameras with infrared capability, the same equipment I'd used to document cartel operations. Every late-night wellness check was being recorded in courtroom-quality detail. While building my harassment file, Elena discovered the smoking gun. Marcus, you need to see this. She calls from the computer. She's scrolling through the neighborhood Facebook group, mapping 6 months of posts. What emerges makes my federal prosecutor instincts sing. Systematic targeting of anyone questioning HOA finances. The Hendersons questioned a $15,000 emergency roof repair last spring. 2 weeks later, police complaints for noise nobody else heard. Jim Santos asked for competitive bidding on maintenance contracts. Next month, code enforcement harassment. Dorothy Brighton suggested financial audits. Suddenly, her bird feeders became pest violations. They're running a protection racket, I tell Elena. Question the money. Get harassed until you shut up or flee. Tuesday afternoon, Tyler calls with intelligence that changes everything. Madison found the smoking gun, he whispers. Constance has been writing checks to herself through fake companies. We're talking federal embezzlement. That evening, they sneak over with evidence that would make any prosecutor weep with joy. Bank statements showing systematic theft, $73,000 stolen through shell companies and inflated contracts. Here's the kicker, Madison says, pointing to cosigner lines. Officer Blackwood's signature. He's not just muscle. He's an active co-conspirator. I'm photographing evidence when my surveillance system alerts me to motion. Through the front window, I watch Brent approach with unusual confidence. Constance trailing behind with her phone out. Time for my countermove. I open the door before he knocks, security camera prominently visible. Evening, Officer Blackwood. I assume you're here about the anonymous complaints. His swagger falters. What complaints? The ones that triggered today's coordinated inspection blitz. I say calmly, holding up the citations. Interesting timing. All scheduled during work hours when we couldn't witness the measurements. Behind him, Constance's smirk wavers. Actually, I continue. Since you're here officially, I'd like to report some crimes. Financial fraud, conspiracy to commit embezzlement, and abuse of authority under color of law. Brent's face goes white. You can't prove anything. That's when I smile and hold up Madison's evidence folder. Actually, I can. Bank records, fraudulent invoices, shell company documentation. Everything a federal prosecutor needs. The sound of Constance's phone hitting concrete echoes through the evening air as she realizes their comfortable corruption kingdom just became a federal investigation. Oh, and Officer Blackwood, I add, watching them back toward their house. My security cameras have been recording every illegal late-night visit. High-definition video with timestamps. The FBI loves that kind of evidence. As they retreat, I can practically smell their panic mixing with the evening jasmine. The hunters had just become the hunted. Wednesday night, 2 a.m. I'm drowning in HOA formation documents when my coffee-stained eyes hit something that makes me nearly fall off my chair. Page 47 of the original development agreement, buried deeper than Jimmy Hoffa, contains a clause that changes everything. Emergency management transfer. In the event of financial misconduct, fraud, or breach of fiduciary duty by the HOA board, Pinnacle Properties LLC retains permanent easement rights to assume immediate management control of all common areas and community governance. I read it 3 times. The original developer built an ejector seat for corrupt boards. Cross-referencing this with Madison's evidence makes my FBI heart sing. $73,000 in embezzlement definitely qualifies as breach of fiduciary duty. I dig into public records. Pinnacle Properties, owned by Harrison Webb, 61-year-old developer, who lost $2.3 million when our subdivision's original board botched a construction defect lawsuit in 2018. Talk about motivation to prevent future board corruption. Thursday morning, I call Pinnacle expecting corporate runaround. Instead, Webb answers personally. "Mr. Dalton," he says after I explain everything, "I've been waiting 6 years for someone to find that clause. Thought I'd buried it too deep. Turns out Webb's been quietly monitoring HOA finances since day one, waiting for exactly this kind of misconduct. That easement was my insurance policy. How fast can you activate it? Give me bulletproof evidence and corporate management takes over in 2 weeks," he says. "My legal team's been polishing this nuclear option since 2019. The magnitude hits me like a freight train. Corporate takeover doesn't just remove Constance. It eliminates her entire power structure." That afternoon, Webb arrives in his Tesla, looking exactly like Central Casting ordered, successful developer. Tailored suit, titanium watch, and quiet confidence. $73,000 in embezzlement, he says, scanning Madison's bank records. Shell companies, fake invoices, spousal conspiracy. This is prosecutorial Christmas morning. His corporate attorney, Patricia Vance, reviews everything with surgical precision. Financial misconduct threshold clearly exceeded. Emergency transfer paperwork can be filed tomorrow. But Webb drops the real bombshell. "Mr. Dalton, you're not their first victim." He produces documentation that makes my blood boil. 2 years of harassment complaints. The Hendersons, Santos family, Mrs. Brighton, the Brooks, all reported the identical pattern. Question finances, get badge harassment. "You knew about this systematic corruption?" "Suspected it," Webb admits. "But I needed someone with the skills and spine to gather proof." He grins. Enter retired federal agent with 15 years of takedown experience. His plan is beautiful in its simplicity. Monday night emergency meeting, full corporate presentation of financial crimes, immediate management transfer activated before witnesses and media. Corporate management answers to state law, not local dictators, Patricia explains. Professional accounting, transparent operations, constitutional rule enforcement. Friday morning, Webb's corporate headquarters feels like mission control. His team assembled: attorney Patricia Vance, forensic accountant David Kim, and private investigator Sarah Mitchell. "Ladies and gentlemen," Webb begins, spreading architectural plans. "Monday night we performed surgical removal of a suburban cancer. David Kim's laptop reveals the financial crimes: $73,000 in provable embezzlement, plus ghost contractors, phantom employees, and emergency repairs that mysteriously coincide with the Blackwoods Caribbean vacation photos on Facebook. Patricia handles legal strategy. Emergency management transfer requires community presentation, not backroom board votes. We're talking public execution with maximum witnesses. Sarah Mitchell outlines the physical trap. Community Center, Monday 7 p.m. Professional AV equipment for maximum humiliation. Every fraudulent check projected in IMAX quality detail. Webb drops his nuclear option. Channel 7's Amanda Cross will broadcast live. Nothing says accountability like having your financial crimes on the evening news. Saturday afternoon, I'm installing surveillance equipment that would make the NSA jealous. Elena finds me surrounded by enough electronics to launch a satellite. Marcus, this looks like you're planning to document alien contact. Close, I tell her. I'm documenting the public autopsy of a suburban dictatorship. Sunday evening brings psychological warfare. I position myself obviously in the front yard, testing equipment. Let them see preparation. Let them wonder what tsunami is approaching. That night, Tyler and Madison rehearse their witness testimony. Keep it simple, I coach them. Numbers convict, but fear motivates. Talk about being afraid in your own neighborhood. Madison practices her presentation. Pool maintenance shouldn't cost $8,000 monthly unless we're cleaning the fountains at Versailles. Monday afternoon, Webb's team arrives with broadcast quality equipment. Professional lighting, multiple camera angles, wireless microphones, projection screens that will display every fraudulent transaction in courtroom detail. Dorothy Brighton appears with a manila folder thick as a phone book. Mr. Dalton, I documented everything for 2 years. Every harassment incident, every selective enforcement, every family that moved away. Mrs. Brighton, I tell her, tonight you might be our star witness. 6:30 p.m. arrives with the texture of electricity before a thunderstorm. The community center fills beyond capacity. Residents who'd been invisible for months emerge from hiding, sensing that tonight justice finally gets served. The Blackwoods arrive at 6:45. Constance clutching her ceremonial gavel like a drowning woman grabbing driftwood. Brent sweating bullets despite aggressive air conditioning. They have absolutely no idea what's about to hit them. Showtime. Constance struts to the head table in her designer blazer, that familiar smug smile plastered across her face. Behind her, Brent takes position near the back exit. Good evening, everyone, Constance announces, banging her gavel. We have several routine matters to discuss tonight. Routine? If routine includes having your financial crimes broadcast on live television. That's when Webb stands up from the front row, his three-piece suit and corporate confidence cutting through the suburban theater like a sword through tissue paper. Actually, Constance, we have some urgent business to address first. Her smile falters. I'm sorry, you are? Harrison Webb, Pinnacle Properties. I believe you're familiar with our emergency management easement clause. The color drains from Constance's face. Webb nods to Patricia Vance, who produces a legal document thick enough to stop bullets. Section 4.7 of the original development agreement. Emergency management transfer in cases of financial misconduct. That's when David Kim stands. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here tonight because your HOA board has embezzled over $73,000 through fraudulent contracts and shell companies. The room erupts. Gasps, angry mutters, chairs scraping as people turn to stare at Constance like she's grown a second head. That's preposterous, Constance shouts. This is clearly some kind of coordinated attack. But Kim's already firing up the projection system. Bank statements appear on the wall in high-definition glory. Checks made out to Maintenance Solutions LLC for $8,000 monthly. Maintenance Solutions LLC, Kim explains, was incorporated 3 weeks after Mrs. Blackwood became president. Business address, a UPS mailbox. No employees, no equipment, no actual services provided. That's when Constance played her desperate trump card. Officer Blackwood, she screams. These people are trespassing. I want them arrested for disrupting official business. Brent steps forward, hand on his weapon. Everyone needs to disperse immediately. You're interfering with official HOA governance. The crowd begins to murmur nervously. Some residents actually start gathering their things. But I remain seated, phone recording, watching with the calm patience of someone who spent 15 years observing criminals dig their own graves. Tyler Brooks stands up, his bank evidence folder clutched in shaking hands. Officer Blackwood, your signature is on the fraudulent checks. You're not law enforcement here. You're a co-conspirator. Brent's face cycles through panic colors. You're interfering with a police investigation. What investigation? Amanda Cross calls out from the media section, her camera crew capturing every desperate lie. We contacted your department. There's no active investigation on file. That's when Constance completely lost her composure. You people don't understand, she shrieks. We've worked for years to maintain standards. We've protected property values. We've kept out the undesirable elements. The racist undertones hang in the air like smoke. Several residents exchange shocked glances. But her meltdown wasn't finished. And you? She screams, pointing directly at me. You've been nothing but trouble since day one. I stand up slowly, my voice calm and measured. Constance, I've been documenting systematic corruption and civil rights violations. Every harassment visit, every fraudulent check, every abuse of authority. Behind me, Dorothy Brighton, Tyler Brooks, and Jim Santos all stand in silent solidarity. The sound of Constance's phone hitting the floor echoes through the sudden silence. But the real revelation was still coming. The silence lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then all hell broke loose. This is a setup, Brent roars. These people have been planning this attack for weeks. He starts pacing like a caged animal, hand never leaving his weapon, sweat stains spreading across his uniform. Officer Blackwood, Amanda Cross calls out, "Are you threatening to arrest residents for exposing financial crimes?" "I'm maintaining order," he shouts back. "I have authority to." "Actually, you don't." The voice comes from the back of the room, cold and professional. FBI agent Lisa Rodriguez steps through the entrance, her federal credentials visible, flanked by 2 agents in suits. The temperature drops 10 degrees. "Officer Blackwood," she announces, "you're being investigated for deprivation of rights under color of law, conspiracy to commit fraud, and abuse of authority." Brent's face cycles through every stage of criminal panic. You can't just. Actually, we can. Rodriguez continues, producing a thick folder. "We've been monitoring the situation for 3 weeks. Every late-night harassment visit, every fraudulent document, every abuse of your badge has been documented and forwarded to federal prosecutors." Behind her, the second agent begins photographing the evidence projected on the wall. Constance makes one final catastrophic mistake. "This is persecution," she screams, standing on her chair. "We are respected members of this community. My husband is a decorated police officer. We don't deserve this treatment from outside agitators and federal terrorists." The words "federal terrorists" echo through the room like a gunshot, calling FBI agents terrorists while under federal investigation. Agent Rodriguez turns to Constance with a smile that makes career criminals request protective custody. "Ma'am, threatening federal agents during an ongoing investigation adds additional charges to your growing list." But Constance isn't done destroying herself. "I demand to know who started this investigation," she shrieks, pointing wildly. "Someone has been feeding you lies." That's my cue. I stand up slowly, letting the moment build. "Actually, Constance, I started this investigation 3 weeks ago when you decided to target my family." The room goes dead silent. "My name is Agent Miles Dalton, FBI Financial Crimes Unit, retired. For the past month, I've been conducting a federal investigation into systematic corruption, civil rights violations, and organized harassment in this community." The gasps from residents mix with the sound of Constance's world imploding. Every police visit, every harassment incident, every fraudulent financial transaction has been documented with federal quality evidence. I continue. Wire fraud, conspiracy, deprivation of rights under color of law. These charges carry minimum 15-year federal sentences. Brent actually staggers backward, his hand falling away from his weapon as the magnitude hits him. "You can't do this to us," Constance screams, but her voice cracks. "We're pillars of this community." Webb stands up from the front row. "Actually, Constance, you've been systematically robbing this community while terrorizing residents." Effective immediately, Pinnacle Properties assumes management control. Patricia Vance approaches with legal documents that sound like thunder when they hit the wooden surface. "Mrs. Blackwood, you're hereby relieved of all HOA authority." The sound of handcuffs clicking echoes through the community center as Agent Rodriguez places Brent under arrest. Constance collapses into her chair, the fight draining out of her. 2 years of comfortable corruption ended in one spectacular public implosion. As federal agents escort the Blackwoods toward the exit, I catch Dorothy Brighton wiping tears from her eyes. Tyler Brooks grins like he's won the lottery. Jim Santos actually applauds. The suburban dictators were finally dethroned. And tomorrow my kids could swim in peace. 6 months later, I'm sitting by the community pool watching Sophie and Jake cannonball into the deep end without a care in the world. The sound of their laughter mixing with splashing water is better than any symphony ever written. The transformation of Willowbrook Estates has been nothing short of miraculous. Webb's corporate management delivered exactly what they promised. Professional oversight, transparent finances, and governance that actually serves residents. Monthly financial reports get posted online. Board meetings happen with actual democratic procedures. And when you eliminate embezzlement, HOA fees dropped 30% while services improved dramatically. The federal prosecution moved faster than anyone expected. Constance pled guilty to 18 counts of fraud and embezzlement, earning herself 8 years in federal prison. Brent got 12 years for conspiracy and deprivation of rights under color of law. Turns out federal judges don't appreciate police officers who weaponize their badges against innocent families. The community recovered every stolen dollar plus federal damages totaling $150,000. But Webb did something that surprised everyone. He donated the entire settlement to establish the Blackwood Corruption Memorial Scholarship Fund, $25,000 annually for local students studying criminal justice or civil rights law. "Turn their crimes into something positive," he told me. "Let their corruption fund the next generation who will fight corruption." Dorothy Brighton got elected as our new HOA president by the largest margin in subdivision history. Her first act, establishing monthly coffee with neighbors sessions where residents can voice concerns without fear. Tyler and Madison Brooks became unlikely heroes, their banking expertise helping 2 other communities expose embezzlement schemes. Elena started a neighborhood first aid training program. Sophie and Jake made friends with kids whose parents had been too afraid to let them socialize during the Blackwood regime. For me personally, retirement finally feels like actual retirement. I've been consulting with Webb's legal team, helping other communities identify and document corruption patterns. Turns out 15 years of FBI experience translates perfectly to suburban justice advocacy. Last week, Amanda Cross won a Regional Journalism Award for her investigative series, Suburban Corruption Exposed. Her follow-up reports helped uncover similar schemes in 4 other Texas communities. But the sweetest victory comes every evening at dinner when my family talks about normal suburban problems. Homework, soccer practice, weekend barbecues, instead of harassment and federal investigations. As the sun sets over our peaceful neighborhood, I watch kids playing in the pool that their families pay for and actually get to use. Parents chatting without fear. Neighbors helping neighbors instead of reporting on each other. This is what America should feel like. Constitutional rights respected, corruption exposed, and communities governed by consent instead of fear. Thanks for watching. If this story had you cheering, smash that like button, drop your wildest HOA story in the comments, and subscribe for more justice served cold. Until next time, remember, sometimes the best revenge is just being better at their own game.